Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right.
Hello, Fortitude audience. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We have Marta Sauret Greca, and she is out in Pennsylvania, and we're super excited to be over Zoom right now speaking to her. I'm with my husband, Amos, as well.
Hello.
And you can say hello to Marta.
Hi.
Marta and I met through a mutual friend, actually just through social media. Got to give Rebecca Weiner a shout out because we all love and adore her. I think I just had commented on something that you had commented on, and we have become friends from afar. And recently I was on your podcast, which thank you very much for having me on and allowing me to share my story with your audience.
Absolutely. You blew up on our Instagram, by the way. Highest engagement on any of it. Of course, we just started the channel for the podcast, but it was like just 800% more engagement on your clip than any other podcast episode. Not that it really means anything, but it seems to mean something nowadays, right?
Yeah, that warms my heart. So thank you for telling me that. I didn't know.
Your story really connected with a lot of people.
It's a big deal right now, what people are going through. So I appreciate you speaking about it, putting it out there and sharing with your audience as well. So I am really excited for our audience to hear your story. Your story it's beautiful and it's going to touch a lot of lives. So I'm just going to turn it over to you and let you share with our audience what you're all about, Marta.
Sure. Well, a little bit about what's in my life now is I am first and foremost a full-time mom to my 6 kids. And I also get to run my marketing agency, Media, the creative agency, as the CEO. But because I have an awesome team, I get to be pretty hands-off and pop in when it's needed or when I want to, and truly just have the focus on my day-to-day of my 6 kids, our crazy puppy husband, and my dad.
That's awesome. 6 kids.
Just part of the family now. My dad's just with us 24/7 and I love it.
Does he lives with you guys full time?
No, he lives in a facility about 4 minutes away, but I try to get him out and get moving, and he loves our little lake in the backyard. It just makes him so happy. So I come and pick him up, bring him for walks, ends up staying the whole day, and I love it. I'm like, just stay for 5 more hours.
Yeah. I bet your kids love that too, to have Papa there.
Yeah, he's struggling with he's not struggling with Alzheimer's, but he's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's in the last year. So it's awesome because they pull out all the board games. It's really good for his brain, and obviously exercise around the lake too is good. So they love it. And he loves to do the spelling, quizzing them for their tests, or, the first, second grade math, and it's good for his brain. So it's great. We all win.
That is really special. There's going to be a time where we end up taking care of our parents too, and not. So Amos just gave me a very weird look, like, oh, heck no.
Just hadn't thought about that. I suppose, yeah.
Oh, it's the best. Yeah. I mean, my dad is also the most complimentary man, and he in the entire world. Like, anything I do could be like, I could fold a piece of paper and he would say it was just the best piece of paper in the entire world. Thank you for holding it in front of me. It's an honor to have witnessed you folding this piece of paper. Having him around.
That is precious. I want to meet him. Well,
yeah, he's the best. He's written 4 books. He's been on my podcast, and he used to be an officer in the Vatican.
Okay.
Baptized by Pope John Paul II because of him. So there you go.
Wow. Okay. So go back there. Start in the beginning of where you were born, your dad, your parents.
Sure. So my dad's from France. He's a proud Gasconian from south of France. He actually ran away from home when he was an adolescent and kind of lived on his own for most of his adolescence, and then repaired his relationship with his parents, but ended up in Italy, where he did all of his studies and met my mom. And she's Italian, but she's from Tuscany. We lived in Rome. He decided to take a job in the United States randomly. And so here we are. We've been here since I was 9 years old.
Man, what job did he take? I was just thinking, like, that's a big step.
interesting story about the divine. He took a job as a professor of philosophy, has PhD in philosophy and theology at a university here in where we are now, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And he got here and they said the position is no longer available. We had gotten rid of our place in Italy. He had moved 5 children and his wife, who couldn't legally work. She didn't have a visa for working. And we had rented a nice house here. And so he said, the heck it's not. You're going to have me teach for a year. You brought me here.
Yeah.
So they allowed him to stay for a year. But then after that, it was like year after year, just finding a new teaching position and a new teaching position, and a new teaching position. And we kind of moved a little bit all over the place in the country because of it. But it was also a blessing.
Wow. So you're 9 years old when you first move over here, and you get thrown into an American school right away, you and your 4 siblings?
Yes.
Where were you in the birth order?
I am the youngest with a twin. So my twin and I, he's my twin brother, were the youngest of the 5.
Okay. So what was that transition like for all of you? You in particular? I
don't remember thinking much of it, to be honest with you. It was just like, okay, but my brother, definitely my siblings had a very hard time with it and had to do some healing as adults, I think, because of it. Still are navigating some things for sure, but it was a good move. It opened up a lot of opportunities. There's opportunities. I mean, I would never I don't know if I'd be able to have started my own company and be the CEO and my husband, obviously meet my husband and have the children that we have if we hadn't moved here. So,
yeah, It's funny. I think the same way about my time over in Germany, where I go, it's just you move to a different country. It's a life-changing experience. It's not something that you can simulate. You've got to go through it to really understand. And, but similarly, I can't imagine starting a business in Germany. And
I don't know much about the economy there, but I know we couldn't do it in Italy unless we had American clients, to be honest with you.
Sure.
We do have my god brother does some work in social media and helps my brother out, who's part of our company as well. So I think with how much more connected we are year after year through the wonderful world of the social media, I think it would be possible that way. But we can get into a conversation about the tax brackets and that stuff, which isn't favorable to small businesses in Italy, but we won't go there.
Well, I moved just from Missouri to Minnesota when I was 10 years old. And that was a huge change. And it was very hard. So just moving across the ocean just seems so crazy to me that it wouldn't.
I mean, I think about my mom. Sorry to cut you off.
It's okay.
But I think about my mom and I'm like, this woman moved to a different country, didn't speak the language with 5 teenagers, essentially. I mean, I was 9, but the rest of them were teenagers. They were not happy. And she didn't have the internet. She couldn't call home. She had to use a phone card, which she couldn't afford because they were on one income with 5 children. That must have been so freaking hard.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah.
I don't know if my husband said that to me right now, I don't know if I could do it. I would do it, but
to be a fly on the wall when your parents first had that conversation and your dad says, I think we need to move to the U.S.
I don't know
and she says,
she was thinking. Just kidding.
What? I thought I heard you just say we need to move to the U.S. and just how that shook out. I'm sure there's wonderful stories there.
That's a lot of trust.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're here, Marta, you started to hang out with some of the maybe not the best crowd. So can you go into that a little bit?
Yes. So as an adult, you feel a little silly talking about things that happened in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. But it is true that traumatic experiences like that really do, you feel like your identity is back there until you do some healing around it. And luckily, who you referenced, Rebecca Weiner McGregor, I would hands down recommend her to anyone. Insane amount of healing with her. But when we moved to the United States, it was like the cool thing to have a little Italian girl in your classroom, and everybody who's in our area, at least, I don't know about you guys, there's a lot of third generation Italian immigrants. Like, so very, very many children had grandparents who were from Italy, right? So they had their nonna, and so they thought it was cool. But it was quickly realized that the cultures are different. The hygiene is different. The wardrobe tendencies are different. The etiquette is different. So what was initially cool, I just became weird to them. And so because of it, in 5th grade, I just remember I had become fluent in English by that time, because you guys knowing, with traveling internationally, children pick up languages like that. So by 5th grade, we were all fluent, but still nobody would speak to me, actively going out of their way to be entertained by making it well known that I was different. And so because of it, when I moved into 6th and 7th grade, I gravitated to the not so greatest crowds just because I wanted to fit in, which turned into a lot of drug use and a lot of alcohol use and smoking by the time I was 12. And because of it, obviously the cognitively impaired most of the time, because I'm not with it and I'm doing everything I can to get my hands on more stuff every day, to even getting caught shoplifting, trying to steal cold medicine because I didn't have the money to buy the proper drugs. So I would do anything just to be messed up in my mind every single day, sneaking alcohol in the school, dropping acid in the hallway. It was not good. And because of it, the more I did that, the more I was seen as a problem. The more I was seen as a problem, the more I did that. And it did lead to, I believe I was about 13 or 14. I can't remember. I was prescribed allergy medicine. Thank God, literally, thank you, God, for giving me the right idea to try to do this with allergy medicine and not anything else that I had access to. Or maybe that's all I had access to at the time, because again, my parents didn't, I got an allowance that I was supposed to use for school lunches, but it was $10 a week and I was using it on drugs. But so all I had access to was allergy medicine, and I swallowed the entire container because I was trying to take my own life. And fortunately, actually not unfortunately, fortunately, that didn't work. I still don't know to this day if my parents knew what was going on, but we did end up in the hospital in the emergency room on Thanksgiving Day because of it, them pumping my stomach and doing all sorts of tests. But if they were taking the test, I think at that time I was taking like cold medicine or alcohol or whatever I could to be messed up, but not hard drugs. I didn't have access to probably things that they were trying to test for. Maybe marijuana, but I don't know. Anyways, it wasn't detected that I had tried to kill myself. So I ended up, going home, and I continued that behavior. And to be quite honest, there's no rhyme or reason why I stopped. It's just a voice. It must have been God who said, I just felt it within me. I don't want to be like this anymore. I mean, my friends were trading me for drugs at parties. It was a common occurrence for this to be a thing on the weekends. I feel still uncomfortable speaking about the details of that publicly, but if you can kind of get what that means. And so there wasn't anybody. My parents were so overwhelmed because at this time, my dad is working in a different state, just trying to have a job teaching. And my mom has at home with 5 horrible teenagers who do not respect her. At this time, she's able to work. They're very loving parents, but they're just trying to survive themselves. They don't know what's going on. And so there really wasn't anyone to say, hey, stop doing what you're doing. And so it was definitely God. And soon after that, I met my husband. And then there's a whole other history around that. But we're still married. And I met him when I was 15. We had 6 kids, and here we are today.
Wow. So I'm going to take you back to when the part about your friends and not getting into the uncomfortable space, but you had talked about physical abuse.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like you were not in the right mind at all, and to the point where your friends were physically beating you up.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at, and how is this happening, and how, for the sake of your brothers and sisters and the bruises or the scars, or was everyone just going in so many different directions? Nobody was paying attention. Okay.
And in fact, I remember this one specific friend wasn't a friend. There was an instance where just for the entertainment of the whole party, just everybody's gathered around and she's just beating me up and I'm just letting it happen because I don't have like a bone in my body that's standing up for myself. And she would take my head. Sometimes she'd get mad and she'd bash it against her dresser. There was one time I remember waking up, she had a bottle of hairspray and a lighter and she lit it right next to my head. And, but there was a stigma that we were not in the upper class. We were immigrants who didn't have a lot of money, even though my parents were, were educated. Not that that matters. We were looked down upon. So this friend's parents, I remember he actually said, you're not allowed to hang out with Marta anymore. I think she's a bad influence. Little did he know the things that she was doing. I mean, she was trading my body for favors for drugs for herself. And she was beating me up in front of people. And, the verbal abuse was just as drastic. So
did that play into your attempt at your life?
Probably.
Was it, was it in the same time frame?
Yeah, it was all in the same time frame. Yeah, probably. I mean, that was my best friend. So
yeah.
Wow.
And there's this phrase, hurt people hurt people.
Oh, absolutely. If I look back as an adult now and I look at the family dynamics that she was dealing with, I don't want to go into it, and I haven't shared her name, but still, we don't need to get into her story. Right. But sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can really sympathize with that. I mean, I had people hurt me in high school, in middle school too, transitioning from a private school to a public school. And yeah, as a young adult, and I'm speaking to young adults right now, is what you don't understand is when hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. And, you grow up and you realize, gosh, their family life was probably really hard. The more hurtful that they are towards you, the more that's likely. And it's hard thing to see in the moment. But
I mean, they were a very well-known family in the community and just very well-known, they were, wealthier and in the higher class bracket. Everybody's just looked up to this family, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of turmoil and abuse.
And it always happens behind closed doors. And they put a brave face on and they go home and they are oftentimes in a really difficult situations themselves.
The vicious cycle of abuse and what goes on behind closed doors and how it doesn't stay there. It led into you and your life and your family and your future story. And I think for your parents and, this destructive behavior that you just didn't know any different, right? You're just kind of going along with all of this stuff with the drugs. And, I think just being promiscuous, but not knowing and hanging out with friends that are just not good. There's a lot of parents, that this is happening and continuing to happen today in our society. And parents are kind of turning a cheek. And I'm hearing more about that, like in the schools, with bullying and not my kid. And, but yeah, it is actually, so what advice would you give? Like if you could look back and have a full on conversation with your mom about or dad of what was going on with you in that time, what maybe could have been different for you to then maybe versus the voice, but if something would have happened, I know you talked a little bit about the law had to get in and you got, like, you couldn't get your license. Oh, yeah. But
I forgot. See, and these details, I forgot that I was arrested and had to go to outpatient rehab, and they took my license at, I think I was 14 or 15 before I was even old enough to have a license. It's still on my record. And I completely forgot that happened, but it's in your subconscious until recently when I got a speeding ticket and my, my attorney asked me to, pull my driving record. It wasn't that serious, but I still, wanted to have someone by my side. So that clearly, in my background, I feel nervous around authority. And I forgot. I was like, I can't believe I forgot that happened. That's terrible. But I don't know that my parents had the bandwidth to do anything differently. They were just doing their best.
But I look at you now and you know better. So you're doing better with your children, right? Like, so looking back and going, gosh, there are definitely things that I'm going to do different. And it has nothing to do with, because your parents, like you said, they didn't have the means or the bandwidth or whatever it might have been from a financial standpoint, but like going into your life now, because you don't want that to be your children, right? So what are you?
I think we're having a breakthrough here, because I think that's why I'm so passionate. I'm always talking about family first, focus on your children first. Everything will fall into place. Be in the present moment with them. Everything else comes secondary. And, God will provide. That's probably what my whole message is about. So I do try to be a full-time mom first. And if I miss out on an opportunity because I'm focused on that, then so be it. God, it's not really a miss out. God will provide, and better opportunities will come your way.
I have loved watching, just from knowing you, just the small amount that I have, just following you and watching your stuff. It is so fun to see you interacting with your children while you're working. Like the fact that you've worked your career around them. Yeah. Yeah. All the pictures of you guys. It's so good.
It's good. I love it. Yes. They just crack me up.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of intentionality. Oh, yeah. And that's what Amos and I talk so much about is just being so intentional with our children and paying attention and having the conversations and being so open and honest about what is going on around them, because you can't protect them. You can't put them in a bubble, right? But you can just model and show and love and create a space for them to be. I look at our 15-year-old and it's just so fun to watch, because our conversations are deep. We get into conversations that I never had as a kid. And I like the encouragement of what that does when parents are able to open up and to have these tough conversations. It just opens up a whole world for our kids of honesty and purity and just, I don't know. So I love that you're recreating and not repeating. So
yeah, I can relate to what you're saying, because we have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, and they have their own struggles, but it's still, I actually tell them, I'm like, I just thank God that you have these struggles, because you are still like 10 miles ahead of what I was doing at your age. I am grateful for these issues, and then I can also understand when, because of making my own mistakes, when they inevitably make their mistakes, like where their brain is, what it's thinking, even though I always say, they're geniuses, they're so smart, but they still have the brains of a 15-year-old and 13-year-old. It's not fully developed. So, and their decision making and the reactions are that of a 13 and a 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
All the more reason to just exercise patience. Isn't that right? Yeah. Like they don't
hard,
have the,
yes.
yeah. Sometimes it's really hard. But they don't have the emotional maturity to react to things that in the same way that we do. And I think as they're growing up, you look at them and go, you should know this by now, just looking at the outside. But
right.
The truth is,
like, you're able to build a computer. How are you not able to do this?
Yeah,
but, that's right.
That's different. It's a different part of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you're totally right. It's just it's not fully matured yet. And it's so easy to forget that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Someone asked me yesterday, are you a patient person? And I said, nope, absolutely not. I am not patient. She said, yeah, but I'm not talking about with your kids. That doesn't count. It does, but I guess it's true. I'm a very patient person with many people, but it's kind of, I'm known to not be a patient person at home. I'm like, I said to do this, let's do it now.
Oh, that sounds like boundaries.
Well, yeah.
and limits on how long you can wait before you do what I asked you to do.
Yeah. But it is funny because I do catch myself and I will say, I'm sorry, you're right. I'll say, come get your laundry and put it away. And then I forget that I just asked them to do that. And I see some other thing that I need them to do. And I'm like, hey, come wipe down this counter. And my 15-year-old will be like, you already asked me to do something that I'm in the middle of. You're going to have to wait till the next thing. And so my 6-year-old said it this morning with his cute little voice. He's like, I'm already in the middle of doing something. Which is probably something I say, right? Like, I'm already in the middle of something here.
That's cute. I do this thing with, I ask the kids to pick up their toys, and I walk away, and then I come back and say, all right, feel free to keep what you pick up if they haven't started.
Yeah.
And so here at the office where we're at, we every now and then they come in to the office and they'll see their stuffed animal or a toy that they forgot about, but they didn't pick it up. So it ended up in the bye-bye box. There
you go. Yeah. Have you ever heard of the toss it bucket? You put everything that you find on the floor in this bucket or basket, and then you kind of have they have 24 hours to take it out of the basket and put it in the room. Otherwise the whole basket gets donated. Oh. We have something like that. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah. Ours kind of has a similar concept where they can earn it back. If it goes in the bye-bye bin, they get a chance to earn it back. They have to come up with a way to earn it back. It's their idea on what to do. Yeah. Sometimes take the recycling out or something like that. But I like that idea. Give it 24 hours, and then after that,
or 48, whatever is you feel is fair. But yeah,
yeah. And then I'll find every single thing out of that basket shoved in about 14 different corners.
That's absolutely true.
Yep.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But hey, if I don't have to see it, I don't actually care. I don't fold. I don't know if you see my post about this, but I don't fold laundry. I play a basketball game where I toss it in color-coded baskets, and then they're responsible for taking it up to their closet. They can put it away however they want. Just shut the door as long as I don't have to see it, because I know as they're going to rummage out what it's going to look like anyway. So I'm not spending any more minutes of my life folding laundry. As much as I love to watch my shows as I do it. It's not happening. There's 6 of them. There's just too much laundry.
Yeah, you have to think differently with 6 kids, don't you? I mean, you've really got to set boundaries in life.
Let a lot of stuff go.
Yeah, yeah. What are some other things that you do like that?
I think, if a friend's coming over and the house doesn't look 100%, it's just not going to look 100%. We have family visiting today, and they've never seen the house. They're probably gonna, and I don't know is this an American thing or an Italian thing? They're from Italy, and they would want to see a house tour, I guess.
Yeah. Do you you have to like show your closets and stuff too?
I'm not going to open the closet doors, but if they want to see the kids' rooms and the kids' rooms look like what they look like, it's fine. My mother-in-law brought some of her friends. She wanted to show them the house when we moved in, and it wasn't 100%, but it is what it is.
We live here.
Yes.
Right? Like
yes, this is a model home.
Yeah. We live here.
That's so true. If it's perfectly clean, then is it lived in? Is this real life? Or are we trying to, we wanted to, Heather makes a really beautiful home, and I know she wants people to feel welcome, and you walk in, it just feels homely.
That's nice.
Homely. It feels homely. Thanks, honey.
Feels comfortable. Yeah. Is that a better word?
Homely.
I'm like, let's step inside. We have a beautiful, you don't need to come inside, right? Did you get to go to the bathroom before you arrived? By the way, are you thirsty? Did you bring your own water? That's the kind of hostess I am. I am not the hostess. I'm like, if you want to come over, sure, but you're going to take me as I am.
Nice.
I want to get there. I really want to get there. I was raised where everything has a place, and I want to be okay with just sitting down.
I will say I am a minimalist.
Yes, you are.
It's not like there's stuff everywhere. And my dad was, and always has been a hoarder. So imagine us moving around. And now as an adult, I'm like, why in the world did we pick up the stuff that from house to house to house to house that's still in boxes today from having moved them into the facility? It's in a box that we haven't opened in 20 years, maybe. So I think that's, definitely the minimalism has that flared up a little bit. So I think it's easier to pick up. I think that having 6 kids has definitely made me into a minimalist because it's just less stuff to keep track of.
Yeah. I appreciate that about you. I am definitely not a hoarder.
My kids are not successful minimalists, but I am a minimalist.
I love purging. I'm so excited. we are finally melting snow here, and just to be able to get outside and to clean and I love purging. I love getting things out.
Feels so good.
Get out of it. Get out of here. We don't need it. Throw it away. Yeah. Junk day is coming on our curb, and
we're gonna set a record.
It's gonna set a record. We got couches and like we're ready. So,
Amazing.
So the minimalist method for prosperous entrepreneurs, that is it's your thing. Like it's really, really, it's neat. Tell me more about that.
That's our Facebook community where we record our podcast live weekly. And the minimalist method also pertains to our marketing method, where a lot of people are thinking maybe I need to be present in all the platforms. I need to have funnels. I need to do ads. I need to do all the things. And we do often have clients who come to us with a goal, and they say, they don't realize that they're asking us to do all of these things because they think that that's the only way they're going to get to that goal. And we take that, and oftentimes, quite frankly, it's just a few tweaks to the foundations of, let's say, their website or their offer or their product. And it's not necessary to do all these marketing things. Where's your audience hanging out? Let's speak clearly, distinctly, and compellingly to their hearts to help them understand how you are the solution for what they seek. And that's it. You don't need to be on every single platform 20 times a day doing all the techie things that the experts say that you have to do. Otherwise, and this is verbatim. Somebody said this on a call yesterday as a lead. She said, otherwise the experts say I have to go crawl into a hole and bury myself. Like, no.
Please don't.
I was able to lovingly tell her, like, no, you're okay. You don't need to crawl into a hole. It's fine that you're not doing reels. In fact, Instagram's going back to preferring photos, going back to the roots of where they started. So you're okay.
Making Instagram again.
Yeah, exactly. Although I find reels to be a lot of fun. I think they're so fun.
We were laughing. I agree. What a great way to end the evening, just laughing at some funny stuff.
I enjoy listening to Amos giggle because he will just he'll turn it on quick for about a 10-minute little laughter. And it's to the point where he can't catch his breath sometimes.
Yeah, my husband knows that too.
And he has the best giggle. So I'm in the kitchen, I'm laughing, the kids start laughing, everyone's laughing, and Amos is just over there like with this minimal snort, just tear, like he's got it, like just this right here. It's so adorable. Yep. So
there's the way that he laughs and he kicks his legs up and he's like,
oh man, how did you two meet, Marta?
He was working actually in the same flower shop as my best friend's mom. And I don't know what she was thinking because he's significantly older than me.
Okay.
But he was in a band and she said, I think you would really like him. I think he would really like you. And we should go see his show. And apparently when I walked in, it was love at first sight for him. For me, I wasn't even thinking about it. I had a boyfriend at the time, but we started talking as friends. And then, over time, I actually moved to Texas 3 months after that. And we kept in communication. And then I moved back, started college, and we became pregnant when I was 20 years old when I hadn't finished university yet. So.
But that didn't stop you from graduating.
No, I graduated on time. I was told multiple times I wasn't going to be able to do it. And so I did, and I did well with it.
With honors?
With honors, with awards, with almost summa cum laude. And he's a genius. Like I said, he builds his own computer. He's like the best cook ever. In fact, we have company tonight. He's cooking. He did the grocery list. He put the menu together. He's going to make a phenomenal dinner. And however, he has like 5 million pans when he cooks. So I'm the one at the grocery store, by the way, who I'm like, are we done yet? Do we have ingredients? He's cooking and are we going to do all these dishes? But the kids do the dishes, so it's okay.
Oh, I bet it's just delicious though.
He's so good. He's the true Italian. I don't know how to cook. I'm not interested. I'm sure I could figure it out. I'm just really not interested.
Well, you can only be good at so many things, right? We got to pick and choose. Yeah.
Yes. I choose to be good at the things I want to do.
That's really neat that you guys still, I mean, you were 15 when you met. Is that correct? 15 when you met, 20 when you got pregnant. You're still, how many years have you been married now?
How many years have we been married? That's a good question. 13. Our daughter is 13. So we had Micah and Mira before we were married, and she was 8 months old. And so, yes, we've been married for 13 years.
So have you ever had the conversation? Well, yes, you have, about your childhood and just, is it hard for him because you were already past all of it, right? When you guys met. So
yes, it was difficult for him, by the way. Yes. He didn't know. He met me and I had like just gotten past that. Is that where your question is going, by the way?
Yep.
And so he saw me as like this little Italian girl, who was very sweet to him. And so when I came clean and I said, listen, this is what I actually just came out of, he was quite frankly horrified, but he loved me and he worked through it. That's, if he wanted to be with me, he was going to have to.
Praise you, Jesus. Thank you for grace. Ooh.
Yeah.
When I think, the more I'm just processing what you went through, how did your parents handle? I mean, you got in trouble with the law and there was a lot of things, and your dad's how did they react to all of that?
They just always loved us unconditionally. So, they grounded me, but I never got the feeling from them that was like, I didn't feel ashamed by them. I didn't feel chastised by them. And actually, when I got caught shoplifting, I wasn't just trying to steal cold medicine. I stole like some beauty products too. And when I got caught, my mom picked me up and I shared that I had been shoplifting. This is what I do. This is how I have the clothes that you don't know where they come from. It's not, even though I would tell her my friends gave them to me or they bought them for me. And she would say, you really shouldn't do that. Because she thought I was like, people were buying these clothes for me. But I came clean and I said, I've been shoplifting. And she handed me $20 to go and buy whatever I wanted.
Oh,
because I think as a mom, for her, that felt really hard to hear that it probably for her felt like I'm not, I'm doing the best I can. And I feel heartbroken to think of this, but she's doing the best she could. And maybe in that moment, she would feel like she's not providing enough or she's not able to provide what I would want. So she gave me $20 to go buy the makeup that I tried to steal, which I don't know. I think that's wonderful parenting. I don't know if the listeners or viewers will react, but it wasn't like, shame on you. How could you embarrass me this way? It was like, and of course that broke my heart at the time too. So I never stole again.
That's how Christ would respond. You think about that. And in your moment of some of your biggest horrific moments, and you're already feeling hurt and ashamed and broken and like, why did this happen? Why did I do that? In a sense, that's the last thing you would have needed from your parents. You needed love and you needed grace. And they delivered on that perfectly. So that's wonderful. Were your other siblings, were they also rebelling?
Yeah. And my oldest sister went through significant trauma before we even moved to the United States. And it was just very traumatized when we moved here. So she's been doing some healing around that, but she's, living a beautiful life regardless. We all rebelled. Yeah. But actually my older brother went the opposite direction. At 17, he joined the Army Reserves and has been ever since. Yes. He's also a father of 5 kids. And we were just talking yesterday. He works full-time for a government agency doing photography, videography, and he'd like to get into entrepreneurship, but he's very much like, I don't know how to describe it. I guess if you're listening, you can't see it.
How do you describe that?
He's just very, very rigorous schedules, systems, checklists.
Disciplined. Just very disciplined.
Very disciplined, highest ranking in the Army Reserve at his age possible. Emmy Award winner, world-renowned photographer, in the military. Is just phenomenal. So I think he went the opposite direction. He dabbled in some of this stuff. We were in the same group of friends, but I think very quickly he
was he in combat camera?
I
That's
don't
what
know
they
what
call it
that
in the
means.
Air Force. I don't know if they call it in the Army.
I don't know what that means, but he was in public relations, so he
Oh,
only
okay.
went overseas once to Iraq, and it was to photograph the situation there and report on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The interesting that he went in the U.S. military at 17, having immigrated.
Yeah, and he wasn't even a U.S. citizen yet. I mean, he got his citizenship by joining the military.
Yeah, it's the psychological sacrifice that one makes for the country, because you do what they tell you to do, and sometimes there's stuff that you don't really want to do.
And I think we were probably craving that a little bit, because you ask how my parents reacted, but they let us just be free. Like, they trusted us. There wasn't a lot of policing or helicopter parenting. It was just like, you do you, because we're just trying to put bread on the table,
Really?
And
so even though you and your siblings were rebelling, they didn't, I call it tighten the screws, but you said they grounded you, but really they were, offhands is not the right word, but
no, they were just doing the best they could. I don't know how to describe it. Like and my dad always had our back no matter what. I remember one of my friend's moms tried to have a conversation with him about what was going on, and he's kind of like what you described. He's like, not my daughter. She would never do that. You get out of my house talking about my daughter that way,
Wow. So as we wrap up here, I wanted to ask you, from your business and your future with your business and running it, what is some of your most favorite things that you like to do, that you enjoy, if someone were to seek you out and need some help? And then where can they find you? I'll have everything in the show notes, but just a little bit more about what you're currently doing.
Sure. I love hosting our own podcast. You can find it by searching Mindset Moves, and it's also airing. You can download the channel media on your Roku to watch it if you'd like. And what I also love is just when companies come to us and they maybe have somebody in-house that has been doing the marketing, or they've dabbled into using marketing agencies here and there. And they're like, we feel like we've tried everything. We don't know. We don't understand why it's not selling or it's not working. And this is not to say we like to work with companies who are established and who aren't coming to us as like a saving grace because their company's failing. These are successful companies that have dabbled in marketing. They don't feel like it works, or they have somebody in-house that is just too busy to do it. And then they come to us and we do an audit of their website, their ads, their social media presence. And we're like, oh my God, we're so excited because there's 50 million things we could improve. And like that, you're going to it's a shift. And we like high five each other virtually because we're all remote, but I just love that feeling of like, oh my gosh, you've been running these ads and you're like wondering why they don't work. Here's the 10 reasons. Let's fix it.
Ooh, the potential. You're like, yes.
Yes.
I have all your answers
From there.
Oh man, you are a godsend to so many people, including me. I just doing just any type of social media, the crossovers and you think you have to be doing everything like you just said. And you're like, no, you don't have to be. You don't have to be doing reels. Like I feel, you feel like a failure when you're not understanding it, but when you're not in that world or in that profession, it is so clunky for somebody who I just don't get it. I don't want to have to get it, Marta. Like right?
Quite frankly, neither do I. That's why I'm grateful for my team, because now I'm having these conversations during team meetings where they're like, we should do a blah, 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 blah. And that's what it sounds like to me. And I'm like, great, go ahead, sign me up.
Do you enjoy the entrepreneurship, being the CEO?
I enjoy it. I enjoy the freedom of it, but I find that entrepreneurship is a journey. And again, speaking to other people who would like to be entrepreneurs, they'll say, well, I'd like to wait until like I have like this nice like clarity, like certainty that it's going to work out. And I'm like, you might have that for at the time that you decide to go into entrepreneurship, but it's going to go like this. And you just need to go along for the ride and trust that God, your guardian angels, they have your back no matter what. And that they're making the path that they wrote for you before you were even born. So it's not going to be rainbows and sunshine every day, but you do as an entrepreneur need to have that trust in God to just go along for the ride and not try to like create a dam for the wave that needs to go through.
Mm-hmm.
No perfect plan survives contact with the enemy.
Mm.
And you could have a perfect plan and find out that that wasn't the perfect plan. What you thought was perfect is not what the market needs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to change. And so, but you won't know that until you start, until you jump and you take that leap of faith and you get on your knees and ask the Lord for strength and for guidance. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
Been there, done that. Amos has been an entrepreneur since I met him, and he's ran this technology business for a long time. And we have rode that roller coaster I've gotten a little bit of whiplash here and there, but it's been a beautiful process because I love, through most entrepreneurs, there's this level of risk and trust, and it actually has, I've fallen in love with Amos over and over again through the trust and through the, like, wow, I have to trust him. Like,
well, that's great. Because I got lots of ideas.
I know.
And that's the problem, Amos.
And therein lies the issue.
My husband's an entrepreneur too, and he's had the most traumatic year with his land development company. We had this conversation, and I said, "Would you venture to say that this was the most challenging year we've ever had?" And he said, "Yeah, I would." And we were saying that in the framework that our youngest just turned 1, and he just brought us so much joy during, like, there was so much uncertainty with his land development company and just a lot of toxicity and bravado. And entrepreneurship can either take it out of us, or you could just decide to trust that this mission was put on your heart by God and that it's all going to work out in ways that you cannot even recognize or think fathomable sometimes, but it's all going to be good. Just keep riding the wave.
You hear about the 1% who made it. And they feel like overnight successes, but you don't hear about the struggles and the stories behind it. And you also don't hear about all the companies that made it and closed for one reason or another. You just don't hear about those. And so people get into it and they go, "Oh, this is not what I expected." What do you say to someone who's going through that right now?
That sometimes maybe that's the enemy or their brain trying to protect them and saying, go back to doing that thing that gave you that guaranteed salary. It was boring. You didn't really like it, but that's safe. That's safer. You should go do that. That's not necessarily God speaking to you, because if you took that leap to go into entrepreneurship, to do this thing that you're passionate about and you're excited about, to remember that God put that desire in your heart. So it's your responsibility to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. Mm-hmm. Heather and I have much more risk tolerance than Heather does when it comes to finances. And when the checks weren't rolling in and I was waiting by the mailbox for the mailman to drop off some check, and then he'd swing by, and there's no check. It's like, oh, that hurts.
We get moments, yeah.
But the truth is, in all my impatience and anxiety, God's never, ever let us down. Never once. It's
helpful to remember those stories. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you've got this big bill due and magically, simultaneously, this unexpected payment came in right before that. Meanwhile, you were focused on this thing that really just wasn't coming in the timeline that you were expecting. And God was like, I had this other thing worked out for you all along. Chill out about that thing.
Yeah.
Chill out. I got you.
I'm learning this. Yeah. I'm starting to learn this. I'm 43 and it's taken me a little bit, but I really love being obedient in Christ. There's nothing more fun. And I never was an obedient person. And there's something that it's intoxicating for me. Like coming from the world of addiction and stuff, I'm like, it's just this rush. It's a rush of joy and yet peace. And it's like just knowing that God's got you and being obedient in that and just taking one step into the next step of uncomfortable. It may just feel so wrong, but yet so good. And you're like, let's go. Let's just do this. I'm ready for the outcome, because if you're behind this and I can feel that and know that, like, let's go.
It doesn't always make sense, does it?
No. It does not.
Usually it does. It's quite the opposite.
It often doesn't make sense. Right. Right. Yeah. And I think just having that innately, that again, that reminder, that trust that something could go horribly wrong and you could have that human reaction to it. And then I love having that feeling of like, oh yeah, but God's got this. So I don't even need to worry about it. I mean, I'll do what I need to do as a human, that I'm feeling, my brain working and I need to do this and this and this, but I know he's got it. So I don't even need to worry about it.
We have a lot of new entrepreneurs in our area. And I've had quite a few of them actually reaching out and asking, can you give us some advice, or would your husband be willing to mentor us maybe? And I love watching the passion behind these new entrepreneurs who are in this, generation behind us, who are just, they don't want to go and work for big corporations, and they want to start their own thing, and they want to, live life.
By the way, I always like to stress, there's nothing wrong with working with big corporations.
No, there's not.
Wonderful corporations out there that take really good care of their employees. And
there are.
I've certainly been employed by one. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a matter of what's for you.
Yep.
And of course, if you're in a toxic environment, then that's not so great. Go do something else. Yeah.
I mean, and all these big companies started somewhere. They all started with someone with a great idea, right?
Story. Yeah.
A lot of sweat and tears. Well, this has been an honor, Marta, having you on with us today. I will make sure to get all your information, so those of our listeners that want to reach out and learn more from a entrepreneur, CEO side of things, to a mother, to a minimalist, to somebody who has been there and done that through their childhood with rebellion, and just all the different things. You have a lot to offer a lot of people. And so thank you for sharing your story today. And this is going to be a lifelong friendship, I think, Marta.
I think so too. And thank you. And you can just look for my name on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. You'll find me. Just search my name as you see it in the title. And we're present on there.
Yes, you are. You guys do a great job. Well, thank you. And we'll be in touch.
Bye now.